watching the detectives. Ooh, he's so cute. She's watching the detectives. When they shoot, they beat him up until the teardrops start. But he can't be wounded.
When it comes to film, television, and literature, there seem to be two particularly popular eras of British history. The first is the Tudor era, going from Richard III, and I know Richard III is not a Tudor, but his fall leads to the rise of the Tudor era. But there's the Tudor era, which includes Henry VIII and Queen Elizabeth, and throwing Mary, Queen of Scots, into the mix. You could see that, for example, CW has a series called Reign, which is about Mary, Queen of Scots, and PBS right now is airing a British television series called Wolf Hall, which is about Cromwell, who is the guy who aids Henry VIII in getting his divorce and then leads to the marriage of Anne Boleyn. And the other era is the Victorian era. You constantly see adaptations of Sherlock Holmes stories, the latest two being the two with Robert Downey Jr., for example. And there's the entire steampunk genre of science fiction. So I think that when a producer takes a chance and does something other than those two eras, it's highly enjoyable just for the novelty factor. And for example, I'm very happy that Downton Abbey has been so successful, that it has run, I believe it's in its 6th season now. It's going to be its final season. And that is one of the reasons why I enjoyed this television series so much that I'm going to discuss today, which is Cadfael.
Brother Columbanus. Brother Columbanus? Have you still got the poppy juice I gave you?
Why, yes, brother. Though I shall have little need of it in the presence of St. Winifred.
Based on a series of books written by author/linguist Edith Mary Pargeter under the pen name Ellis Peters, Cadfael is a mystery series that takes place in the 12th century during what is known as the Anarchy. For those of you who don't know what that is, the Anarchy was a period of civil war in England when King Stephen warred with the Empress Maud. The series takes place in the town of Shrewsbury, where Cadfael lives as a monk. Cadfael himself is an interesting character. A former soldier and a veteran of the Crusades, he is now an herbalist and healer who uses his vast knowledge of nature and violence to help Sheriff Hugh Beringer solve crimes. The series has a strong cast, with acting god Derek Jacobi playing the titular character, and the stories are very well written, giving the viewer a clue as to what life in the 12th century England must have been like. While I don't recommend ever using a fictional series as gospel when it comes to learning about history, Cadfael is a decent place to start if you have an interest in learning about another era. Of particular note is how the justice system worked back then, which was an eye-opener for a guy who thought a trial basically consisted of this.
Right, remove the supports. It's a fair cop.
Seriously, Cadfael is a top-notch series. The setting is interesting, the characters engaging, and most importantly, the mysteries are top-notch. Sadly, only 13 episodes aired from 1994 through 1998, with each one running about 75 to 80 minutes. Now, I don't normally do this, but I wanted to single out a particular group, which is the role-playing community. And I thought that I would discuss the show Cadfael and how it might impact one's campaign. Perhaps your Dungeons & Dragons or Pathfinder campaign is inspired by the high fantasy of Lord of the Rings. Perhaps your campaign takes its cues from the low fantasy of Conan the Barbarian. Or perhaps your group mirrors the mythology of King Arthur. Or perhaps your group seems to resemble something else entirely. Now, I run a campaign myself, and what I endeavor to do every night is to have at least one fight, because that seems to be what the players are expecting. And in fact, a majority of campaigns, be it taking place in a fantasy setting, modern setting, science fiction, it revolves around action. It revolves around conflict. And that's fine. That's fine. I don't see anything wrong with that. But I think, too, that a campaign centered solely around violence can lose its luster. It can grow boring after a while. And I think what a GM might want to do in order to spice things up is to mix things up a little bit by adding intellectual challenges. And one of the greatest intellectual challenges is the murder mystery. And it might seem odd that in running a campaign where death runs so rampant that someone might care about the death of a single individual, but there you go. It will happen. And it's up to the GM to decide how that death is relevant. And there's different ways you can do this. For example, where do the characters come from? Perhaps they come from a small town like the Abbey of Shrewsbury. And in returning home, a death happens, or even a major theft, and a loved one is the primary suspect. And the player characters, must step up and solve the crime. Or a murder happens, and the player characters have nothing to do with it, yet because they're strangers, they are the principal suspects, and so they have to clear their own name. And there could be a third option. What if one of the player characters is minor nobility? The point of minor nobility is that there are responsibilities that are attached to that title. And what you could have in a story is that a major noble assigns one of the player characters as the sheriff of this region, of this community, and it is his task to solve a crime. So these things might be fun for the GM to do, to throw at the player characters, to mix things up, to challenge them mentally, rather than just having them roll dice that week. Something else to consider. When you watch Cadfael, you get a great sense of the clergy's role in the life of both the common man and the noble. And I think that when you have players running clerics, that there might be something more that is required of them. Whenever I used to run a cleric, because I was the only person who would run the cleric, I was just an overglorified medic. I had two jobs. I was there to turn undead, and I was there to heal people. I was the medic. And that's fine. You know, I had a good time doing that. But I think I may have taken more pleasure out of the game had I played the role more closely to what a cleric, what a holy man is. And that is a man of whatever god they worship. And that means a level of holiness, of piousness, of a desire to save souls and to do good works. And so what I should have been doing constantly is trying to help the downtrodden, and because I was always playing a good cleric, but also trying to convert people as well, to discuss the merits of the god that I'm worshiping. And two, in a fantasy setting, quite often people are worshiping more than one god. So I think I should have been challenging other clerics. What are the merits of your god as opposed to mine? I don't care if your god is good. My god's better. And I think it would be good if a GM did that with people who played clerics, basically saying, look, you are playing a man of the cloth. You are playing a representative of your church. That means you have certain obligations. Just something to consider. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you've never seen my videos before, you could find me on the Agony booth. I do both videos and written reviews of various subjects. Most notably, I do recaps of Star Trek the Animated Series, which I love doing, but they're not going to last forever. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed yourself, and I hope that you watch more of my stuff. Thank you very much.
She's watching the detectives. Ooh, he's so cute. She's watching the detectives.